Hi, I'm Matt Dilahunty, and I survived the apocalypse.
Hi, this is Tyler. My last name's not relevant right now. Most of you should know me as the guy who does quote-unquote the least amount of work. Yeah, I'm making this recording because I want to be the final say when this whole entire station inevitably burns to the ground. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm not saying that it just might happen. Look, I've been working here for a couple months now. This is my life, producing, making great things, and these guys treat me like I'm a 7-year-old child. And you can call this my confession tape. This fucking rat is eating every. Oh my god! I stockpiling food because they don't feed me. Get out of here! You can tell the living conditions here suck. So yeah, if you could, when this all goes down, if you can present this tape to my mother so she knows that I was the one that was in the wrong, that I didn't do anybody any wrong. That'd make me feel good. These guys I work with are a bunch of fucking idiots. They're all self-absorbed. And we all know, most people that I know that I'm better than them, but it is what it is, so.
Welcome to Atheist Apocalypse, a fictional comedy podcast for a reason. All of the characters you are about to meet are fictional and do not represent real people. Except when they do. Either way, we welcome you to the show and would like to encourage you to head over to atheistapocalypse.com for more information about the show, as well as details on how you can contribute to help keep the lights on. After all, this is the apocalypse, and we could definitely use all the help we can get. Thank you!
Good evening, listeners. I'm Jake Lemingstein, along with my co-host Beatrice Johnson, and you're listening to KUSA 9 News at 9. I'm happy to announce that we were able to gather all together again tonight. If we hadn't been able to do that, you wouldn't be able to hear this. I wasn't so sure what was going to happen, though. Tyler, our studio engineer, logistics manager, and general subservient and grossly underpaid techie, had to scramble to even get the show on air tonight. The eco-friendly, I was told I can't say eco-friendly any longer, generator started fine, but kept shutting down on him, and we had to resort to gas-powered generators. The ones our newly liberated community enjoys complaining about so much. Our mechanic Hector was accosted by some hipsters from Chattahooga County as he was getting them going. Hector's pretty nimble, thanks to the border crossing training he received when he was a boy, and was able to scramble away before they subjected him further to more tasteless lentils and music from the 60s. We're not sure how long we'll be able to hold off the roving hordes of dreadlocked aggressors, but we promise to stay on air as long as we possibly can, and as long as they aren't able to get inside. We're not necessarily worried for our collective safety, but, have you ever smelled an enclosed space filled with hipsters?
Yeah, later tonight we'll talk about what's going on with the sheriff departments around the Tri-Counties and the drastic steps they're taking to ensure that you and your family are safe. Since we last spoke, information has trickled through various media sources outside the Tri-Counties. By all indications, the disappearances are much worse than we first understood. Sources from major media outlets, at least those able to send out a strong enough satellite signal, have confirmed that the mass disappearances aren't restricted to just our little corner of the state. As a matter of fact, it appears across the continent there have been other similar reports. We're still trying to confirm this, but we're confident they're reliable sources, or at least that's what they told us to say.
Right, Beatrice. If these reports are to be believed, one has to wonder what this means for guacamole futures.
Hey, guaca what? Yeah, we'll have more information on these developments as we get them. In news around the Tri-Counties, local historian Earl Antwerp over in Wingo County reportedly had a medical emergency in the community college's library this morning. I've heard that he was transported to the satellite clinic on campus where he's recovering in stable condition. The same cannot be said for some of the library books he was found buried under.
Details are sketchy and equally disturbing. When he was found, Professor Antwerp was reportedly covered in a pile of books, and some reports claim he was not wearing any clothes. Officials at the community college immediately denied that claim and said that the professor was indeed clothed and responsive. When asked if the professor was able to speak, one official responded with, "Yes, of course he was. He's a lecturer, and anyone who knows a professor also knows they don't know when or how to shut up." When pressed to confirm whether or not the good professor was indeed naked, the official stared off into the distance before hiccuping the melody to Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, who performed at our concert at the county fair last summer, if you'll remember, an event marked by the intoxicating mix of rhythmic vibes and creepy clowns hawking scented massage oils.
Now we need to hand things over to the dynamic duo, the only all-brother two-person weather crew in the Tri-Counties. Max and Andy, what's Mother Nature serving up for us today?
Partly cloudy for the next few days as a big storm front heads our way, which will hit us hard and fast Friday. But fear not, brave citizens, because Sunday will be a great...
Really? We still care about the weather. We can't predict it anymore. No matter what we say, the aliens presiding over these abductions are obviously changing patterns to their liking. Okay, listen to this. Tyler, cue up that clip I played for you.
Why? Andy, this has nothing to do with the weather report.
Just play it!
Okay, fine. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's Rachmaninoff. We know they've heard our music. Look, if people don't see the weather report, society will literally collapse. If people stop caring about their weekend plans, or whether or not to bring an umbrella to work, the aliens win. Plus, maybe someone as smart as us can see the patterns, and also figure out the thing you found.
Without them knowing what we know.
Bingo, brother.
Looks like heavy storms we have incoming will last about 3 days, folks. 3 days. Just like 2 of the last several storms. And will end on a Sunday. This Sunday. Voskresenie. Sunday. Sergei. A Russian. Know what happened in Russia on Sunday, January 22nd, 1905?
Okay, enough. You're telling them everything we know.
Sergei Rachmaninoff, who just happened to be born on either March 20th, 1873, a Thursday, or April 1st, 1873, a Tuesday. What day is right in the middle of those 2 days? Sunday, baby.
Temperatures will be reasonably mild for the season, but comfortable enough. So put out your rain barrels and cover it with a chemtrail filter, which can easily...
Sorry to break away from that stimulating weather report, but we have breaking news. Reports from across the pond are flooding into the newsroom. Apparently, in reaction to the mind-numbing and liberating number of disappearances across the globe, France has taken the truly remarkable step of activating a new legion. That's correct. Shelved are the fine wines and escargot for the feel of steel. French volunteers across the country are heading towards Paris by any means of conveyance they can find in order to become the newest members of the French Legion. One must wonder what a move like this will do to trans-Euro political relations, while I, for one...
An astute observation, Beatrice. I guess that comes from your highfalutin college days. Great job. Now I'm glad we've got you on the staff. This must surely change the landscape in Europe now, as nations around the world have been making gentlemen agreements to reduce their national military strength. The French have gestured a big booger flip to their neighbors by recruiting nearly 4 million volunteers this past week.
those reports are yet to be confirmed, of course, listeners. After all, a mostly pacifist nation since the end of the Second War, and a country of only 66 million before the disappearances, would make anyone skeptical that they could get 4 million volunteers for their military. It's likely that these reports are inflated, and maybe significantly so.
Well, my sources have confirmed the number, and eyewitness reports have indicated the swelling happening in the barracks as one eyewitness reported, it was impressive.
As impressed as those eyewitnesses may have been, KUSA 9 News at 9 would like to stress that these reports are unconfirmed at this time. As soon as we get more information, we will pass it along.
Until then, it's time for our Enter the Swagman segment with Kelly Muttersey, who, I believe, is somewhere above France. Let's send you over to him now.
Thank you, Jake, and welcome to Enter the Swagman. Oh, you guys, you know what I'm up to. I'm in my blimp. I made it to France. I'm reporting on the scene. You guys have given some information so far, and I just need to issue a couple corrections, okay? First of all, it's not volunteers. Conscription means they're being forced into it. Second of all, it's not 4 million people. It's somewhere closer to the vicinity of 25 million people. Yeah, that's right. They have conscripted every man, woman, child, baby, dog wearing a beret, and croissant into their armed forces. Now, we don't actually need to be too scared about this, as we know, despite the fact that they currently now have the largest military on Earth, any sort of conflict the French ever get into, the most aggressive that they get is throwing a cigarette on the ground in disdain and surrendering. So we don't actually have to worry that much, it's just posturing. And if we know the French are good at anything, it's good at posturing. God, they have good posture. Just such good posture. Everybody's walking around like a post. It's amazing. But I have to say, the president over here, Jean-Paul listen, I'm not saying that he's like Kim Jong-un. I'm just saying that he's also a bloody dickhead. You don't conscript babies. For example, I'm just saying, if you're gonna conscript babies, first thing you have to do is drop your military, fitness requirements. And what's even the point of having an army if you're dropping your military fitness requirements? Now, I'm not saying that the handy capable shouldn't be in the military, right? They can do anything they want to do, alright? But babies, you can't give a baby a gun. For one, he's not going to be able to pull the trigger. For two, if he ever does pull the trigger, the recoil's just going to throw him out the bloody window, which is where this policy should have been as soon as he introduced it. This is just stupid in so many levels. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get in my blimp and I'm going to fly away, because these French people, they're really getting on my last nerve. Back to you guys.
Thank you for that report, Kelly. Now, I apologize for mistaking your gender, and I solemnly promise that I wouldn't have made that mistake if your parents had bothered to give you a real boy's name.
You listen to me, dickhead. I lost my virginity to a girl named Jake, and she had amazing eyebrows. If you keep on with your heteronormativism, I'm going to come there, and I'm going to make you squeal the way that I made her squeal.
Tyler.
Yeah, what's up?
2 words, buddy. Hot mics. Got it?
Yeah, I got it. But you do know I was on break, right? You specifically told Beatrice to take over.
Could we not get someone with at least a 4-year degree?
Bitch, I went to college for 7 years for this. Again, maybe you should talk to Beatrice. She's the one that took
This segment of the news was brought to you by French Cuts, the hottest hair club in the Tri-Counties. Get your groove back with one of our fine, edgy, Euro hip hairstyles, courtesy of our flippantly feminine follicle manipulators. See Pierre Roger to book your appointment today. As Pierre says, we are the most wide-open salon in the Tri-Counties, and we'd love for you to come inside. To see us, call 555-438-4273 and book your appointment today.
With all the activity overseas, we cannot forget there's news happening right here at home as well.
That's right, Beatrice. As KUSA 9 News at 9 reported in our last broadcast, the Tri-County Sheriff Department is struggling to police its districts since the disappearances because of their severe manpower shortage. Crime reports, strangely enough, haven't actually spiked as officials had anticipated with a reduction in the size of their police force. When asked what the root cause might be for the lack of a spike, Sheriff Roger Rogers of the Big Bone County Department stated, and I quote, we haven't quite figured that out yet, but if it ever comes to us, the last thing we'd do is share it with the media. America doesn't want to see positive news. They want the sexiness of police chases and poor quality videos shot by teenagers of overly excited police officers tackling teenage girls half their size. Trust me, we're doing you a favor.
So, we were able to do a little investigative journalism ourselves and uncovered a dark secret the Tri-County Sheriffs don't want you to know about. Now, we must warn you listeners, what you're about to hear might be considered concerning for many of you. According to our sources, the Tri-County Sheriff's Department has...
Mr. Pop.
We apologize, listeners. We don't know where these constant interruptions are coming from. As you'll remember, during our last broadcast, we were interrupted by something similar. Tyler spent much of the week trying to uncover the source of the signal, but was constantly befuddled by the electronic trail. Apparently, his degree isn't as useful as he'd like to believe it is.
We appreciate Tyler's dedicated efforts, but whatever or whoever is interrupting our broadcast, it remains a mystery, at least for another broadcast. We just don't know who they are or what they're trying to tell us. But we cannot dwell on that, listeners. Have faith that we will doggedly pursue an answer to this mystery. Right now, we would like to finally get over to the continuing breaking local news about the Tri-County Sheriff's Department's dirty little secret. But first, we must take you to sports. Because, you know, with the world as we know it falling apart, that's important. Take it away, Arthur.
Hello there, everyone. I was worried I'd be fired after my arrest at the last throwball event I covered. Those kids got what was coming to 'em, I tells ya. Hey, anywho, I decided to keep it cool and check out a local hockey game. It's basically ice soccer with sticks and football pads. So it's a pretty sissy sport, I'm guessing. Why else require padding to protect players from those simple little sticks the skinny, science geek-looking kids keep handing players before they run out onto the ice? The players are just so sassy, though. Maybe it's more like, ice boxing with sticks. Sometimes they help each other get undressed before they fight, and the crowd just eats it up! This wonderful manifestation of human decency. I mean, really, what other sports game matches behave so gentlemanly? No one has scored yet, but I'm not sure that's even the point of the game. I look forward to watching the hat tricks they perform. There are maybe 20 people here, and I'm not sure if that's the normal turnout, or if it's because some people are saying the rapture is upon us. But those are the few folk who usually attend wrestling matches and race car driving races. Woo! Anyways, there's one guy who keeps pulling other guys' shirts off and punching them. That guy can't stay out of the penalty box. Nobody wants to play with a Charlie in the box. I'm gonna go find a snow cone. The smell of fresh ice is enthralling, and sorta makes me hungry. So this is Artie Fitzpatrick, sending a slap shock back to you in the studio, Jacob Beatrice.
How titillating. Thanks, Arthur. We have another listener letter to share with you in this broadcast. Station management is thrilled that we're receiving letters, as it's the only means they value in validating whether or not we're actually successfully broadcasting. Tyler mentioned that they could employ some of the historically reliable means of tracking listenership, like advertiser response rates, using polls, or even subscribing to independent verification services. Station management reportedly got very angry with Tyler and reduced his monthly stipend to less than minimum wage, but to prove that they aren't completely without morals, promised to provide him a performance-based living wage stipend, which they promised he would never be able to meet the associated performance measurement goals for. They wished him the best of luck, though. For now, it appears we'll be solely using the rate of listener letters to extrapolate our base, which, we are confident, is at least one listener, because, again, for this broadcast, we received a letter from Benny Baker. Benny writes, "Dear KUSA 9 News at Night, imagine how thrilled I was to have heard you read my letter to the editor in your last broadcast. I told all my friends about it, and he was thrilled for me. Anyways, Thank you for taking the time to show that you actually care about the marginalized who remain behind. Your efforts may be too little, too late for those who are gone, who probably would have greatly appreciated you speaking up for them in their moment of need. But at least you're making an effort now, and, better late than never, I guess. However, injustices ignored are injustices that thrive. Before the disappearances, the local council approved a measure which your radio station, and you specifically, Jake Leminstein, communicated approval of to the disgust of many. You'll remember Tri-County Measure 011-110-01-01-01? Exactly. It was one of the most controversial proposals passed last session without any noise from the opposition. Media outlets such as yours intentionally took efforts to suppress the opposition voices. Not anymore, I say. We will be heard. You will not silence us. Measure 011-110-01-01-01 needs to be rescinded. Speak up now, KUSA 9 News at Night. Speak up now. For the voiceless. It is your civic duty as the only remaining significant news media outlet in the Tri-Counties. Speak. Sincerely, Benny Baker. Again, I must say, Benny, and I mean this literally, station management would like to thank you for your letter. They are thrilled you have written back. Though, still not sure why. For listeners who may be unfamiliar with the approved measure 011-110-01-01-01, that was the bill passed in November's meeting where the Council for Ostentatious Christian Knights successfully petitioned Tri-County legislators to protect our heritage and tradition by including an inscribed plaque in the park with a traditionally American motto of, "In God We Trust," which, as you'll know as listeners, was included in the original Declaration of Independence during the founding of our nation after we seceded from the tyrannical overlords of Liechtenstein. Benny, thank you for writing to us here at KUSA 9 News at 9. Benny, 9. This is twice I've had to tell you that. But before we go on, I would like to remind you that when COCK successfully inserted their plaque petition into the legislative session, the bill called that the plaque only be placed on the underside of the decorative bridge by the frog pond. Literally, Benny, it will be on the bottom of a small, nondescript decorative bridge raised approximately 14 inches above the quite unclean water. The likelihood that anyone will actually ever see the plaque is negligible and really not something to concern yourself with. But, fuss if you must, even if you're choosing to invest energy in something no one will ever see. I'm sure it's the principle of the matter for you, Benny, isn't it? Station management reminds me that if you feel compelled to address this issue in a future letter to the editor, please feel welcome to do so. They said, Benny.
Now, to return to the actual local breaking news that might have some implications, severe implications one might say, for us here in the Tri-Counties, if it is indeed true. Apparently, the Tri-County Sheriff's Departments are struggling to staff posts and routes and are barely covering half the shifts they need in order to ensure our safety in the Tri-Counties because of the lack of personnel power since the disappearances.
Don't you mean manpower, Beatrice? Seriously, personnel power. Awkward.
Actually, Jake, out of respect for the brave women and non-binary members of the sheriff departments across the Tri-Counties, I would not want to be so callous as to refer to them in any form or fashion as men. To the news we want to report, our sources have confirmed that the sheriff's departments are extremely concerned with the situation and have taken drastic step of working with the only marketing firm left in the Tri-Counties to develop a new campaign for recruits. The firm, Astrological Advertisers, it's in the stars, have secretly begun meeting with the department officials to hack out a quid pro quo agreement for their services, seeing as how the entire budget for the Tri-County Sheriffs was exhausted in last month's taco subsidy fiasco. What this means for the Tri-Counties is unclear at this point, but we do know that their departments are failing and we are not safe. How can they effectively police an area as large as the Tri-Counties with 3 broken departments, one might ask?
A legitimate concern for sure. Word is that the early drafts from astrological advertisers, It's in the Stars, contains verbiage indicating that volunteers and not paid sheriff's deputies are being sought out. Concerned citizens met outside sheriff headquarters at the news only to find a podium appropriately placed at the steps of the entrance where a mannequin stood lip-syncing Michael Jackson songs, and they weren't even the good ones from his Thriller album. And before I get too upset, let's head over to our field reporter Rick Bentley, who I believe actually has someone to interview this time. Take it away, Rick.
Thanks, Jake. Rick Beckley here, and I'm standing here in the mall parking lot with one Gloria Loach. Now, Gloria, in your opinion, if the sheriff office knows something about the events that have transpired lately, should they let the public know what's going on?
In my opinion, yes. If the sheriff's department knows what's going on, the people should know about it.
That's excellent. News have been flying around fast that the sheriff not only knows what's going on, but might even be behind it. What's your thoughts on that?
I personally know the sheriff. I don't think he has anything to do with this. I also feel that if he knew something, he'd let us know everything he could.
Could it be that perhaps you're just covering for a colleague?
What?
Would you prefer covering for a boss instead of a colleague?
The sheriff isn't my colleague. Or my boss.
I'm pretty sure that if he's a sheriff and you're a deputy of that department, then he would be your boss, ma'am.
I'm not a part of the sheriff's department.
Sure you're not. You just so happen to have a badge and pepper spray. I'm sure they're just handing that stuff out to everybody these days, huh?
I'm a security guard at the mall.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm a mall cop.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. The sheriff's department has plugged in undercover personnel in the mall. Does this mean that this goes much deeper than we originally feared? Now, I'm not one to start rumors, but I know that as an American, I deserve the right to know what's going on as it's going on. And because that's the American way. So until I see you again, this is Rick Beckley, KUSA News at 9. Saving the world, one story at a time. Jake.
Thank you for that insightful report, Rick. And again, stellar work conveying the seriousness of the situation we are facing. But enough for the profound. Let's shift gears. Station management conducted a spot survey across the Tri-Counties recently, meaning they stood outside a local store of a national coffee chain and pestered patrons for answers to questions such as, what would you like to hear on our station? And, do I look good in this? Before moving on to discuss the merits of professional over collegiate wrestling. The results of the survey indicated that you, the listener, want to listen to this radio station to hear someone read their blog. I don't quite understand it, but again, I'm not paid to make those types of judgment calls. So, let's head over to Venice Marriott, somewhat of a unique personality around the Tri-Counties, and her blog, Venice's Vibrato, which has quite an extensive online following, indicating that station management may just be chasing trends. But that's just this reporter's opinion. Venice, over to you.
Hello, my lovelies. Well, what's left of you? I knew something was off when I couldn't get a proper picture of my aura for my monthly scrapbook entry. Anya started to tell me that the animals around Warbler Mountain were in distress. This isn't Anya's usual talent. He's much more adept at talking to other animals on an individual level. He's such a good little doggy therapist. That day, he told me that the other animals, humans, were disappearing. Those poor fairy children of the Earth Mother were suddenly left alone. He said it sounded like thousands of dogs, cats, birds, rodents, primates, and reptiles were crying out in fear through the cosmos. At yoga class, not only was Yogi Brahma not there, which never happens, but there were only 3 others who showed up for class. There's usually 25 students at Brahma Hunt Day Holistic class. So the 3 of us began to compare experiences. Everyone felt that their vibrations were way off. And Cosmea said she couldn't even scribe properly. Her third eye seems to have developed a cataract. Weird. Since before the disappearances, she didn't have one. We were all worried about Yogi Brahma in particular. Buddha the Cobra was sleeping soundly in his terrarium, but Yogi Brahma had never left Buddha alone before, especially not without having fed him healthy portions of Orion white mice and pen noodles. Anya said that reptiles were especially challenging for him, so he couldn't get a read on Buddha to find out what he knew. Our chakras were all off kilter, so we thought it best to go about our ways. I went home and tried to call Madame Teresa for a tarot reading, and she wasn't even answering the phone. Phil's palms wasn't answering either, and neither was my chiropractor Fabian. You can imagine how this dismayed me. I thought I would go down to Mystic Minerva shop and get some sage. I had a feeling there would be a lot of smudging in my immediate future, so I popped Anya into my Louis Vuitton bag and headed downtown. This is where it got really strange, my lovelies. The store seemed to be open, but Minerva was nowhere to be found. Ionia, her assistant, wasn't there either. I searched the whole store and even looked in the employees only section in the back. The place was deserted. Anya was visibly upset and started to growl at the eerie presence, as if the absence of ambient noise was a sentient creature itself. I have to say, my lovelies, this unnerved me too, and I ran and grabbed a handful of sage bundles. I left Minerva a note to detail what I had taken and to put it on my black card when she got back. If she comes back. Oh, I hope she comes back. When I got home, I smudged the entire penthouse and balcony. It's also been strange in the building, as Morris, the concierge, has vanished, and Mr. Oshman from maintenance has been trying his best to fill in. The poor fellow. He doesn't have the training or experience that Morris does. I hope all of my friends in the Tri-Counties area are surviving, and that the disappearances of your loved ones has been negligible. Media is spotty, even unreliably conventional means. It's just so hard to find good information. I will call Cosmea later and see if she's had any luck scrying yet. There has to be an explanation for all of this. Until we meet again, my lovelies, remember that the truth is whatever makes you happy, and reality is whatever we believe it to be. Namaste.
Thank you, Venice. Word has come in during our broadcast confirming the number of French Legion volunteers ranking in the millions. France now has one of the largest military forces in Europe as a result of the disappearances.
And their overzealous response to it.
There are mixed responses from neighboring nations. When asked for a comment, the Supreme Chancellor of Romania merely swallowed an entire bottle of pickle juice and recited the Romanian national anthem, Awaken the Romanian, backwards. Europe is on edge. There are barely enough sheriff's deputies to protect us from ourselves, and spiders are still infesting the drinking water. Just another day in the Tri-Counties. But we regret to inform you that we must start shutting down this broadcast. With so many disappearances, you would think we'd have an abundance of electricity to draw from the grid, but apparently, as Tyler puts it, that's not how this works. I remind you, Tyler went to a community college. Whether or not I trust his word is irrelevant, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I have a private showing at Nelly Negapositive store, Bitter Sweets, in a half hour for some candy sampling. It really doesn't. I mean, in the old days, before the disappearances, traffic would have been a nightmare, and stopping the broadcast would have been understandable. But in this new world, the streets are as free and open as a young child's mind is to indoctrination. I just don't want to waste any time getting to taste Nellie's wares. Plus, there was just a noise outside the studio. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but I fear the hipsters might have gotten through the fence. We need to go. Now. So, until our next broadcast, everyone stay calm, and calm we shall stay.
The Atheist Apocalypse podcast is a Paul Sading production. You can find more information and links to support the show's Patreon campaign at www.atheistapocalypse.com. We would really appreciate your support in keeping the lights on. Today's episode was written and edited by Paul Sading, Jeremy Stevens, Brian Bristol, Jay Crawford, Deborah McTaggart, and Nick Morgan Moore. It was produced by Jason Comeau. All music and sounds were created and produced by Jason Comeau. The voice of Gloria was played by Jen Crawford, the unfortunate soul who has to keep tabs on Jay. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Apocalypse Podcast and follow us on Twitter at AA Podcast Show. We would like to thank each and every one of you who supports the show to keep it alive and well, which is more than we can say about this post-apocalyptic world we have created for you.